Los Angeles. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm also a member of the California State Assembly, so I am receiving updates as they come in, and it is an absolute violent mess. Gavin Newsom and California Democrats are singularly responsible for the mayhem that's broken out in California because, number one, they incited it. They took to social media last week on Friday when ICE conducted their raids to, remember, let's be clear, as Jason just said, arrest criminals, some of the worst criminals, sex offenders, rapists, people with violent crimes, assault perpetrators. All of these violent criminals were being rounded up by ICE, not just people here without immigration status. We're talking about real criminals. And what they did is they said that we all needed to take to the streets. So Newsom, Karen Bass, Democrat politicians called on people to go to the streets. Second, they fund the organizations that are organizing these protests. We found over $34 million went to the Coalition for Immigrant Humane Rights in Los Angeles, $34 million in state taxpayer money, and they're the lead organization not only organizing these protests, but they run a hotline telling people where the ICE agents are and where they should be deploying to. So they're basically giving people their assignments as to where they're to show up and to attack ICE agents. And then finally, they try to shift the blame to Donald Trump. This blame is uniquely at the feet of Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and the other Democrats that have created a complete mess out here with their sanctuary state policies and actually have had a very heavy hand in organizing these protests. We even found politicians from the state assembly participating in these protests and urging people to get more aggressive. A member of the LA City Council said that Democrats would be able to organize and be resilient and change up their tactics to stop ICE terrorists. Yeah. This sort of rhetoric needs to stop because it only inflames the tensions out here.
Yeah, you said CHRLA, that's the Coalition for Human Immigrant Rights. They also led a 2018 campaign to abolish ICE. So clearly, to your point about the narrative there. But we're hearing two different narratives in terms of public officials here. You got Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass, as you pointed out. They're calling for this deployment purposely inflammatory by sending the National Guard there. Karen Bass putting this out, deploying federal troops on the heels of these raids is a chaotic escalation. And then you got Governor Gavin Newsom there demanding Trump rescind what he called unlawful deployment of the National Guard troops. Your response to how they're handling the situation in their own state, saying that this is our issue, we'll deal with it. We don't need federal agents here or National Guard troops to come in and help. How do you respond to that?
Governor Gavin Newsom had an obligation to deploy the National Guard the second that these violent riots got out of control. He has an obligation to back up local law enforcement, men and women who are putting their lives on the line and are being attacked by these thugs. He is derelict in his duty. So I appreciate the fact that President Trump is stepping in and making sure that people are protected and that law enforcement is protected. Governor Gavin Newsom today has announced that he's going to file a lawsuit to stop President Trump from mobilizing the National Guard, the California National Guard. I've spoken to several members of the National Guard, and they are eager to perform this mission. They see the violence. They see the lawlessness. They want to restore public safety, and they also want to protect frontline law enforcement personnel. So, Governor Newsom, you might want to ask the members of the National Guard whether they want to do this mission. Right. They're eager to do the mission, and they're embarrassed that they have a commander-in-chief, that refuses to do the job. Wow. They're grateful for President Trump stepping in and utilizing the National Guard to back up law enforcement to restore order.
All right. That is Carl DeMaio joining us.
It's a surreal sight. This Black Hawk moved in just in the last few minutes from the Border Patrol, landing at that Homeland Security office on the Paramount side, right next to the Home Depot, and they are unloading this huge helicopter with, just boxes and boxes, dozens of boxes of ammunitions, less lethal weaponry. You see these tanks with flammable labels on the side, one after another, an entire shipment, as if they were getting ready for some kind of a major battle. It really has to be said, this is a remarkable sight in the middle of a suburban street here.
Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who do well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes whom Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai will ultimately have mercy upon. This is your brother Matazah Bath from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia, reporting to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Okay, as we continue to build and alert the sheep pertaining to biblical prophecies, things that are going on within the world. All right. And as you saw in the introduction of this lesson, situated around the LA riots, in this lesson, I've decided to entitle it The Elites Enterprise Operational Warp Speed Lockstep in Full Effect. All right. And you're going to see what I mean by that, because now this lesson is going to show you, all right, that Esau has been made bare and he has been found out. And a lot of you Jakes, 2/3 of you Jakes, you're going to fall for the okie doke. All right. And so without further ado, all right, this is fair use. All right. This is fair use. This is the YouTube handle Dabu7, all right, which from time to time he puts up very useful information that helps us, the servants, the prophets, to be able to tie these things that we see going on across the four corners of the earth and are able to link them to biblical prophecy. Now, I want you to watch this 4-minute clip of what this gentleman first says and then what Dabu goes on to expound upon. All right. Let's go.
Good morning. I'm a truck driver for one of the major grocery distributors on the East Coast. And I've been off for the weekend. And I came into work this morning and there's nothing for us to do because apparently our computer system has been down for several days. And considering all the news about the riots in Los Angeles and the speculation that it may spread, makes me wonder if we weren't hacked on purpose to deprive the DC and the Baltimore areas of food just to see if the natives would get restless. Makes you wonder.
And it does indeed make you wonder. A shout outs to Mark Lewis there for sharing that information. And DC, Baltimore, you could see an uptick in activity here very soon. And if we do, we know for sure that this was tied into it. On the larger scale of things, we know this whole thing was planned, plotted, and contrived. BLM 2.0 basically in the streets. And of course, a lot of chaos in the midst of all this. Now, this seems to be the tax dollars at work. For people that don't know, we have discovered that the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Right, CHIRLA, CHIRLA, is one of the key players in doing all this. And after doing digging, it looks like they were the ones that led the 2018 campaign to abolish ICE. They also are operating largely off of taxpayer money. That's right. The incredible part here is that CHIRLA's activities are primarily funded by California taxpayers. The financial audit shows that for the fiscal year ending in June 2023, they received $34 million from the state. $34 million from the state.
Now, just want to pause it on that note because remember, okay, the video that I played here at the start of the lesson, if you read the caption, it says Democrats funded the LA riots. I appeared on Newsmax to explain how government Gavin Newsom and California politicians not only incited the LA riots with their irresponsible rhetoric, but they gave $34 million, to the group instigating the protests. Now, I want you to keep that in mind because we're going to trace the money and we're going to show you, okay, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, as these devils are being made bare. Esau cannot hide himself. All right. We are in these times, but we're going to trace the money and we're going to put it all together and show you who actually funded it. All right. But let's get back to the video. Let me take this back some. OK. Salakia.
And after doing digging, it looks like they were the ones that led the 2018 campaign to abolish ICE. They also are operating largely off of taxpayer money. That's right. The incredible part here is that Shirla's activities are primarily funded by California taxpayers. The financial audit shows that for the fiscal year ending in June 2023, they received $34 million from the state. $34 million from the state. Mostly through the Department of Social Services, accounting for 72% of the total revenue. That is who and what is funding this. Just on the top layer, we know Soros and the goons are always backing this stuff up. And it's obvious that every single time you look at one of the senators or somebody out there on social media, they're like, pass the BBB to stop this. Oh, really? You're talking about the tyrannical, big, ugly bill that has AI surveillance hidden within it? All of a sudden, we've got this massive staged event popping off, and all the senators are saying that the answer to stop it all is sign the BBB? I don't think so. Some people say we're in a catch-22. You ain't no catch-22 unless you want to be there. Open up your eyes and see that they're playing you. You ain't no catch-22. It's the same old hand that it always is. Creating the problem because they have the manufactured solution already at hand. So they want you to sign the BBB to get millions of dollars to be able to send more troops into the streets. That's their answer. It's garbage. Some of us see right through it. For all the small-minded ones out there that don't, you're just going to get played like a fiddle to the end. All right? This is the establishment running their same old ops, as always. And it could spread, is my concern from here. We've seen bricks stacked up on the corners in the areas, and all this being fueled, again, by taxpayer-funded money. This group has a major connection to the mayor of L.A., Karen Bass, as well as Newsom, and the rabbit hole continues to go deeper and deeper. Join me for the live stream. It's going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. And he mentioned about the politicians suggesting for Donald Trump to sign off on the BBB deal. Now, for those of you brothers who don't know, all right, when you look it up, okay, it says the Big Beautiful Bill, or Triple B, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, is a budget reconciliation bill that contains provisions related to AI technology. Okay, so we are here. All right. This man's enterprise, his new world order, is here. It says it includes a 10-year moratorium on state-level AI legislation, essentially preventing states from enforcing laws regulating AI models and systems with certain exceptions. So in other words, if this bill gets passed, okay, which it will, okay, because prophecy has to be fulfilled, basically what's going to happen is the federal government is going to have full control over the technology and surveillance over the people. And essentially the states will not be able to regulate or do anything to stop that total control from the federal government. Right now, it tells you, give you a more key breakdown. It says the BBB is a budget reconciliation bill that aims to fast track policy changes related to spending revenue and the debt ceiling, including changes to tax cuts and social programs. All right. Now, when it comes to the state level, it says the moratorium generally prohibits states from enforcing laws that regulate AI models and systems. However, there are exceptions for laws that facilitate AI deployment, streamline procedures, or impose requirements under federal law or generally applicable laws, right? And so this is why there's been a lot of pushback, all right, in certain states. Okay, but they are all hand in hand. You have something that's called the smoking mirror effect. All right. Don't be fooled because you see certain state governors pretending like they are against Donald Trump. No, it's just the fact that the elites, they have to play. This is like a movie. You have to have the bad guy versus the good guy. Because at the end of the day, all of these politicians, they are all a part of the same agenda. Doesn't matter which role that they're playing, it's all going to lead to the end goal of establishing this new world order. All right. So now let's go here and we're going to show you what's actually taking place. OK, because you have to put everything together. See, you had a lady by the name of Catherine Austin Fitts, who said almost 4 years ago during the time of the pandemic, she said the one thing that the elites are trying to do is they're trying to find a way to stop from mainstream media exposing what's going on behind closed doors and then what they want you to know up front. OK, but this is why the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, has to service the prophets, starting with the apostles, the bishops, the elders on down, OK, to see right through the BS and to bring out these things to feed the sheep so that we can warn you. Now, this is an article as of June 8, 2025. It says Trump ropes in Palantir to compile data on Americans. This is why the riots are happening, and we're going to show you. Now, as you read, OK, it says Washington in March, President Donald Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies. Keep in mind, this was back in March, raising questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. Now, remember something. Yuval Harari said a long time ago that the pandemic, OK, that crisis that happened back in 2020 set the stage for surveillance under the skin. So you have to understand, Esau is not a smart man. He is he's known as the basis of men, right? Which means that they go by a formula, OK, that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they've already tested. They did a test run in 2020. OK, order out of chaos. The same thing is happening all again today if you have eyes to see. Right. So it goes on to say Trump has not publicly talked about the effort since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. In particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, the data analysis and technology firm. Representatives of Palantir are also speaking to at least two or other agencies, the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service, about buying this technology. It says the push has put a key Palantir product called Foundry into at least 4 federal agencies, including DHS and the Health and Human Services Department. Widely adopting Foundry, which organizes and analyzes data, paves the way for Trump to easily merge information from different agencies, government officials said. Creating detailed portraits of Americans based on government data is not just a pipe dream. The Trump administration has already sought access to hundreds of data points on citizens and other through government databases, including their bank account numbers, the amount of their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status. It says Trump could potentially use such information to advance his political agenda by policing immigrants. OK, you see it right there. And punishing critics, Democratic lawmakers and critics have said. Privacy advocates, student unions, labor rights organizations have filed lawsuits to block data access, questioning whether the government could weaponize people's personal information. And this is what they're going to do. OK, this is what's happening. So now that we have that understanding, let's trace this money. Let's see where it's coming from. Now, before we do that, this is Palantir, OK, which they have a manufacturing OS for American reindustrialization, which represents, they call it WarpSpeed. Remember back during Donald Trump's first term in 2016, he signed an executive order entitled what? Operational Warp Speed. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, the technology, look no further, is right here before your eyes. And we've been telling you, okay, this devil is planning. He's about to come down with great wrath because he knoweth that he have but a short time. That's Revelation 12:12. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave all of these links, Lord's will, in the description box of this video. So without further ado, we're going to trace the money. Now, this is from the People's Voice.tv. This is as of June 9, 2025. Keep in mind, after we just read, okay, the Times of India, this article. Now, remember, we spoke about them receiving the $34 million. And if we come back to the video right here, take it back some, watch what Dabu said about mentioning the name of George Soros.
Hidden within it, all of a sudden we've got this massive staged event popping off, and all the senators are saying that the answer to stop it all is sign the BBB. I don't think so. Some people say we're in a catch-22. You ain't no catch-22 unless you want to be there. Open up your eyes and see that they're playing you. You ain't no catch-22. It's the same old hand that it always is. Creating the problem because they have the manufactured solution already at hand. So they want you to sign the BBB to get... Let
me see if I could take it back a little bit more, because he mentioned George Soros' name.
Obvious that every single time you look at one of the senators or somebody out there on social media, they're like, pass the BBB to stop this. Oh, really? You're talking about the tyrannical, big, ugly bill that has AI surveillance hidden within it? All of a sudden, we've got this massive staged event popping off, and all the senators are saying that the answer to stop it all is sign the BBB? I don't think so. Some people say we're in a catch-22.
Salakia, let me find it.
Are operating largely off of taxpayer money. That's right. The incredible part here is that Shirla's activities are primarily funded by California taxpayers. The financial audit shows that for the fiscal year ending in June 2023, they received $34 million from the state. $34 million from the state. Mostly through the Department of Social Services, accounting for 72% of the total revenue. That is who and what is funding this. Just on the top layer, we know Soros and the goons are always backing this stuff up.
And there it is right there. Soros backing. Now, why did he say that? Because now let's go to the article. Once again, this is from the People's Voice.tv. I will also include this link in the description box. It says Soros paying up to $12,500 week to hired muscle for LA chaos investigation reveals. All right. So they are at work with each other, man. Okay. Esau is being found out. It says an organization with confirmed ties to George Soros and the Open Society Foundations have been running a covert recruitment effort for a paramilitary style street unit to ignite chaos and escalate tensions in Los Angeles following President Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard. The recently uncovered Craigslist advertisement posted under the innocuous title Operator offers eye-popping weekly compensation of $6,500 to $12,500 for individuals willing to enter, quote, dangerous situations, unquote, and operate as part of a select team of the toughest dudes in the area. The ad, now flagged for removal, but captured by multiple independent researchers, describes the job as high pressure and high risk, specifically targeting candidates with prior military law enforcement or private secretary experience, with the bizarre exception of U.S. Marines, who are explicitly disqualified for reasons the ad cryptically refers to as long story. And here's a screenshot, as you can see here, the website losangeles.craigslist.org, so that you know it's real. Okay. Looking for the toughest badasses in the city of Los Angeles private. Seeking extremely tough brave man for new crew IM building. Compensation $6,500 to $12,500 per week. And you can read it there. All right. Just pause it. I'm not going to read it out. All right. But you can pause the screen and have a quick read. Okay. And let's see here. Let's continue to read under this ad. It says the timing and tone of the ad have raised serious red flags among watchdogs and whistleblowers, according to anonymous sources close to the situation. The group behind this recruitment drive is planning to weaponize street-level chaos to bait U.S. military forces into overreaction, creating what one source called the perfect pretext for regime change. Okay, Esau's enterprise is NWO. Okay, draconian measures are coming. All right, the dragon is speaking. It says this isn't just about civil unrest, said a former intelligence contractor who reviewed the ad. This is about asymmetrical provocation. The end game is to fracture the military chain of command by forcing them into conflict with American citizens on American soil, and then using that moment of confusion to trigger a coup narrative. The ad itself reads like something out of a dystopian thriller. It demands applicants who are basically all around kick-ass dudes, mentally and physically hardened, who don't break, panic, or fold under stress. While the operation is said to be activated only when the situation demands it, compensation is guaranteed weekly, suggesting well-funded backers. All right, gives you a Twitter link. Further disturbing is the vague language around relocation assistance, implying that recruits may be brought in from outside Los Angeles, combined with the fact that no experience is required. The potential for a volatile and unpredictable mix of individuals converging on LA's already tense streets is cause for alarm. It says the role of Soros in open society. While the ad does not explicitly mention any organization by name, two separate sources have confirmed that funding traces back to shell nonprofits known to be affiliated with Soros-linked grant networks. The Open Society Foundation, long accused of sowing global instability under the guise of civil society development, has previously denied involvement in any paramilitary activity. However, critics argue this is a textbook example of plausible deniability, using third-party proxies to do the dirty work while keeping the parent organization's hands clean. All right. Strategic destabilization. The current political climate makes this story even more chilling. President Trump's decision to mobilize the National Guard has been met with outrage in major cities, particularly Los Angeles, right? Because you also have the situation going on in Boston. And as the truck driver said, their systems has been down for several days where they're not able to transport any food or whatever because they want to get a rise and a kick out of it and see how people would deal with the situation. Right. So it says tensions are already high following waves of organized protests, sporadic violence, and targeted disruptions of infrastructure. See that? By deploying a cadre of professional grade agitators, complete with crisis experience, tactical training, and a mandate to face danger head on, the alleged Soros-backed effort could ignite a powder keg designed to force federal overreach and delegitimize Trump's use of force. It's chaos with a strategy, said one insider. All right. And remember, Yuval Harari said, never let a good crisis go to waste. Right. It says create flashpoints. Right. Provoke a heavy handed response and then amplify the optics worldwide. If successful, it sets the stage for international condemnation and eternal revolt. As of this writing, the ad has been flagged and removed from Craigslist, but screenshots and metadata are being analyzed by independent digital forensic experts. Congressional inquiries may soon follow as public concerns grows over foreign and domestic interference in national stability. All right, so there you have it. And once again, I will be leaving this link for any of you brethren that want to read it. And if you want to do a land back off of it, if you found some more information. All right. So now, remember, this is Lockstep because let's come back over here. All right. And this is from the Rockefeller Foundation 2010 Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. And Lord's will, I can leave this also in the description box. But you have something here that's called this is the 4 steps that they want to achieve by 2030. The first step is Lockstep, and it says a world of tighter top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. All right, so I'm just going to get straight to the point, and we're going to read technology and Lockstep. While there is no way of accurately predicting what the important technological advancements will be in the future, the scenario narratives point to areas where conditions may enable or accelerate the development of certain kinds of technologies. Hence the reason the riots, because it gives the Trump administration using Palantir Technologies, WarpSpeed, to be able to analyze using AI, which we read in the Big Beautiful Bill Act. All right, that allows for them to enable AI technology to pretty much place surveillance on every American citizen. OK, but they're using the so-called illegal immigrants to be able to pass in this bill. OK, and we can see right through it. All right. So it says, thus, for each scenario, we offer a sense of the context for technological innovation, taking into consideration the pace, geography, and key creators. We also suggest a few technology trends and applications that could flourish in each scenario. Technological innovation in Lockstep is largely Slovakia, driven by government and is focused on issues of national security and health and safety. Right? First, we had the pandemic, health and safety. Now we have a national security problem because of what? So-called illegal aliens. You see how it all comes together? It says most technological improvements are created by and for developed countries shaped by governments' dual desire to control and to monitor their citizens, and states with poor governance, large-scale projects that fail to progress abound. So it gives you some key factors to look at. It says technology trends and applications we might see. Scanners using advanced functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, technology become the norm at airports and other public areas to detect abnormal behavior that may indicate antisocial intent. And this is already being passed through. Point 2. It says in the aftermath of pandemic scares, smarter packaging for food and beverages is applied first by big companies and producers in business environment, and then adopted for individual products and consumers. New diagnostics are developed to detect communicable diseases. The application of health screening also changes. Screening becomes a prerequisite for release from a hospital or prison, successfully slowing the spread of many. You see it right there. Telepresence technologies respond to the demand for less expensive, lower bandwidth, sophisticated communication systems for populations whose travel is restricted. And driven by protectionism and national security concerns, nations create their own independent, regionally defined IT networks. Going back to one company in particular, Palantir. Mimicking China's firewalls, governments have varying degrees of success in policing internet traffic, but these efforts nevertheless fracture the World Wide Web. And this is why they're going to have an issue, because when they pretty much shut the internet down, all right, pursuant to Amos 8:11, a famine of the word, okay, when they turn it back on, they're going to have total control, okay, of what goes out. You have a situation dealing with Google. All right. They put out something called VO3. Look that up. And that technology is scary, man, because now they can use that AI and it looked just like the real thing. So when they put out news sources and stuff like that, it's all going to be done through AI technology, man. All right. And so this is where we're at. You have to understand that. Now, I don't think there's anything else I need for this. So now let's just go in here and bring out the scriptures now, and we'll close out. All right. So this is Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. And who is the enemy of the nation of Israel? Esau, Edom, and along the other heathen nations, pursuant to Psalms, the 83rd chapter. All right. Verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And that's what we're doing, because we're looking through the cracks. We're seeing what these devils are truly setting up our people for the old okie doke. They're leading the sheep straight to the slaughter, man. All right. It says, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. All right. So you have to understand, man. OK, so let's come here. This is Proverbs chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. You have a lot of our people that are out there in LA, a lot of Jake, and they're sitting up there protesting along with the ones who is being deported by ICE, man. Same thing like back in 2020, 2021, when Jake was out there protesting in the damn streets and marching, man. Right? It says, verse 15, avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it and pass away. For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. And that's what they're doing. They're causing a lot of our people to fall, because our people are falling for the okie doke. All right. And these devils, they have prescribed, as it says in Isaiah the 10th chapter, all right, unrighteous decrees, man. Donald Trump is trying to sign in that triple B bill, man. And so this could be the perfect plot, the perfect mischievous device, as the scriptures calls it, to be able to pass that legislation, man. And then once that's passed, all bets are off. So these devils, they lose sleep at night, except they done mischief, man. You see? Verse 17, for they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. Right. This is all this devil knows. Right. So let's get this here. And because of that, this is what we own. All right. 2 Corinthians 2:11, it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Now, when you go into that word devices, all right, in the Greek.
Strong's G 3540, Naima.
Okay. It says a mental perception, thought, and evil purpose, that which thinks the mind, thoughts, or purposes, right? Strong's definition says a purpose or perception, by implication, the intellect, disposition itself, device, mind, thought. And we understand the evil thoughts of these devils, man. They up to no good. All right. So you got to understand that. And this is what we're supposed to do upon our watch, knowing the state of our flocks. This is 2 Esdras 9:1. It says, and he answered Salakia, me then, and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And this is how we're measuring the time, because look at what's going on in the planet Earth today. Verse 3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we're currently seeing that right now, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, right? Declaring the end from the beginning, as the scripture says. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. You see? It says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings, and the wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And if you claim to be a true prophet of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and you can't see the signs of what's going on, all right, then you're a false teacher. You're a false prophet, because this is information and news that you should be reporting on. Point blank, period. Okay. Let's get this here. This is 2nd Esdras 15. And let me start up. Verse 14, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Okay. Woe meaning destruction. All right. Verse 15, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there should be sedition among men. And this is what we're seeing. But see, Esau is putting the bait out there. All right. Rousing up Jake, man. You see, it says, in invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And this is why you have a chain of reaction going on across America, from LA, which that's the, focal point of the matter. But also you have Boston that's brewing. And there's another state, I forget too, that's brewing with the pushback against the Trump administration. OK, so America looks like is going into civil war. OK, this is where we're at, man. OK, it says a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Right. Because we have to continue to watch to see how this is going to play out, because we know eventually. All right. There's going to be city shutdowns. There's going to be barricades. You will not be able to travel from one city to the next. Right. And then it says, verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And remember what this truck driver said. Let me bring it back in case if you missed it. Listen to what he said about his systems being down.
I'm a truck driver for one of the major grocery distributors on the East Coast. And I've been off for the weekend. And I came into work this morning, and there's nothing for us to do because apparently our computer system has been down for several days. And considering all the news about the riots in Los Angeles and the speculation that it may spread, makes me wonder if we weren't hacked on purpose to deprive the DC and the Baltimore areas of food just to see if the natives would get restless. Makes you wonder.
And there you go. So he had no work over the weekend, only to find out to come back into work and their systems are down. So were they tampering with the infrastructure? And they set the stage for this to happen, order out of chaos? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we just read it in the scriptures, right? A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. This is what this is leading to. This is biblical prophecy. You see that? Because it's only going to progress when the store shelves are empty. OK, and the trucks are not able to drop off their deliveries to these warehouses. The warehouses are not able to reload them back onto trucks to send them out to the grocery stores. You're going to have a problem. That spells for a disaster. OK, it's going to be every man, woman, beast, child for themselves, man. You see? Let's get a few more then close out. This is Psalms 37:7. It says, rest in Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and wait patiently for him, and fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. And this is nothing more than a wicked device, all right, plotted from the Edomites, man, starting with the top banking elites. This is what they're doing. OK, they're setting the stage. And we've been telling you, Jace, that's been piss farting around, mocking and laughing and scoffing at the prophets. Well, guess what? Now's the time where the Heavenly Father, through his son, Yahweh Shai, is going to laugh, scoff, and mock when your calamities come to pass, man. We're in this time right now. Right? Let's get another one. All right. And this is the as the scripture says in Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of thy times, the strength of salvation. Because ultimately we know how this plays out. This is Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, their plot, their schemes, their plans. so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Because along with that enterprise, be that of the New World Order, comes along with the mark of the beast, which is the RFID micro C hip. That's the end game. All right. Verse 13, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. All right. And we're going to end it off here in Proverbs 21 and 11. It says, for they, meaning the wicked, Esau, Edom, intended evil against thee, the heavenly Father, through his son Yahweh Shai, for they imagine a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. You see? So that's why we're saying bring it, hurry up, collapse the economy, bring on the CBD system, bring in, usher in your New World Order, do all that you got to do, bring in the MOTB, because we understand once this happens, prophecy is just going to jump off the pages, man. Okay. And Yahweh Shai is going to come back when those missiles are shot off. Okay. Grabbing the elect before the 7 troubles. All right. And it's game over with for you devils, man. Okay, so I wanted to just bring this information out. All right, once again, I want to try my best to remember His Lord's will to put the links in the description box for you brethren if you want to check out for yourself. Abaratazah, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. Shabbat Shalom.